So yesterday, as I was feeding the tigers, I had a little bit of a problem over here. And I had the 2 buckets with food for them. It's easier with the chickens because I can just throw that over. But when I had the 2 buckets of food and I had to bring it in here, and I was a little late. So, so as I came towards the tigers with their food, Diego was right in my face. He's there all the time. And I couldn't just open up and give it to them. And yeah, I actually had to just open it. And Diego hit the gate. And the key fell out. There, I just saw the key now. There it is. So this gate is not locked at the moment. I'm going to just go in and get the lock. Oh, the key, sorry. But yeah, it was a little difficult because he was right there by me all the time. When I go to the other side, he was there quicker than me. And when I came back, he was quicker than me every time. And okay, if I say quicker than me, I mean not in running, but in showing up before I could open up the gate and put it in for him. And he was so excited to eat. So that was a little difficult. And yeah, it was just one of those things. So I couldn't really lock that gate, but that's why you've got 2 gates. You need to have 2 gates. And here I've got the key now. So I'm just putting it back into the lock. And when it's in there, it stays in there, but it's a little special system that I've got going here. So I can just take out these buckets as well. I've only been using a few of these, but then I had no choice. It was really starting to become a problem to... Enzo is waiting on the other side. So yeah, there I've got the key back in again. But yeah, those are things you don't really realize when you've got animals like these. And I was just running a bit late and had to defrost the stuff. And then Enzo ate Diego's food as well. And that was even worse, because I didn't defrost more. And he ate it all. And he was just being a little spiteful, showing Diego that he is still the boss. And Diego didn't approach him at all. So then I had to go and defrost more food for Diego. And that just took forever. But eventually Enzo did move on because that was too much food for him. And Diego was able to go and eat the little bit that was left. But then, just as he finished, I was ready with more food for him. So I actually felt a bit sorry for him, especially when he's so cute, you know, with the snake and everything. Then he gets into your heart. And then Enzo comes along and eats all his food. It's terrible. But luckily at the end, you can always just make a correction and they're fine. Enzo is taking his morning walk and he loves his morning walk. All his leaves are falling down. I'm starting to plan to get all the water out of both of the swimming pools, and I don't know how exactly it's going to work because the pumpkins are still floating in there. I think that one pumpkin is still perfectly fine. So, but the other one is totally broken up and it's floating. So it's going to be easy to just scoop that out. And yeah, so I'm going to put these boys on the other side soon. And then I'll quickly start working on the enclosure. I'm going to leave the leaves for now. I think it's going to look quite good. I remember when I used to take Enzo for a walk around the block. That was when he was still little. And one of the houses just down the road here, they had a lot of these leaves, but they didn't pick it up. They just scooped it all to one side around the tree. And every time we came around there, Enzo would dive into those leaves. He enjoyed it so much. It was almost like swimming to him. And he enjoyed it so much. I can never forget it. And every time I see these leaves, I'm thinking, should I just let them pile up and surprise Enzo one day when he comes from the other side with all these leaves just being in a big pile. It would be actually so cool if I would have been able to fill that pool with these leaves. But there's not going to be that much, and it's going to take some time. But that was something really special to see every day, because I took him around the block. Eventually they asked me not to do it because there's too much attention to him, and people could have a car accident because they're watching this tiger walk alongside the road. And I've got him on his little strap and he enjoys it. But yeah, I can still remember he used to get tired quite easily. Tigers are not that fit. I remember taking him for a walk, and yeah, when we get back, he is tired. And the first couple of times we just walked down the road and he would get tired quickly, and I'll pick him up and carry him back. But eventually he started getting more fit. So I can understand why he walks like this. I think tigers need to walk and need to get that exercise. So even if the enclosure is not that big, at least it should be in a shape that helps them take a walk. I think this enclosure, it could, don't get me wrong, it could be bigger. But if I make it bigger, it might have less walking area. Now, does that make sense? Not at all, but let me explain it. If you put a fence in like this, a long one, right through the center, he will walk along that line. And that is where he gets his exercise from. If you just take this fence away, and this area will be part of that area, then they will only be able to walk on this little path. And they will go back and forth all the time. So by making the enclosure smaller, I actually made the walking distance longer. And it worked, because he never used to walk in this, because this would have been the center part of the enclosure. He never would have walked here. But just with this fence, it creates that area where he is able to guide himself. And that is why it works. So the shape of an enclosure needs to be correct. I think a lot of people, and a lot of zoos even, they don't think in that direction. They were thinking square meters or square feet. But it's not only about that. It is about the design and the direction that the enclosure faces. Because I mean, our sun, well, it comes up round about right over that tree. And then it's running, I'm not going to point right into the sun now, but it's running a little off to the side. That is north over there. So I'd say right about there. And as the sun moves more to the northern hemisphere, the shade from those trees are coming more towards the enclosure. And that is what you want, because you've got a lot of plants growing on the side where the tigers are actually walking then, and a lot of shade on the other side, and that shade is what the tigers need. So that makes a big difference in the enclosure. I can see when the sun sets nowadays, it sets a little bit more to, well, if I'm looking at this enclosure, it's moving more to the outside, the further side of the enclosure. And that means the sun is getting closer to all the people in the northern hemisphere. So your winter is not going to be that much longer. I think I've seen a lot of footage of this winter in the northern hemisphere, and it was a bit much, I think. So we're actually looking forward a bit to the winter here by our side, And every day I can see the sun going over a slightly, just a little bit more. It's just going in that direction and setting over there instead of setting over there. So something I've noticed, I once drove down our main road of our street in town, and it was the 16th of December, and I was driving down that road just as the sun was setting, and I noticed that the sun set right in the middle of the road. And that is something that I've realized just because I was there at that moment. And then it all made sense to me, because the 16th of December is actually a day that it was a holiday, but it was a historical day. And I think the guy that designed that town knew about that 16th of December, and I think he calculated the direction of that road so the sun would set right in the middle on that day. You can search it online what the 16th of December was in the Afrikaans whole thing. It was a little war that they had. Actually, it was a big war, but it was something where promises were made, and yeah, I don't think those promises are being kept. So let me just move on from there. South African history, something that you want to know about that you don't want to mention. But in any case, I don't want that stuff to take away the attention from the tigers. But I knew when I drove down that road and I saw the sunset in that exact spot, it was like I just had a conversation with the person who designed that town, and I got his thoughts. So yeah, and then every day from there on, the sun moves a little to the left, and I think it's for 2 days or 3 days, and then it stands still, and then it starts coming back. So around about, okay, I'm talking under correction, about the 22nd, 23rd, the sun would be back into that straight road again. And then slowly it starts moving towards the north. And we can see it the very next day. It moves over about the length of one of the shops to the right. And it keeps on going every day until it is right on the right hand side of that road. And that is when the sun is in the northern hemisphere more than in the southern hemisphere. So yeah, that's just a little something that I've noticed once, and I actually pick up a lot of things like that. And yeah, I never used to mention it, but I think it's worth mentioning. And the dove is still right there in the tree. There he is. That dove has just loves that branch. He's always there these days. And yeah, maybe he feels so comfortable there with the tigers, like I do. Well, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Just a little something that I've also thought I could share. And hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.